Hello, everyone. Today, this was last week's. Made this guy. It's kind of a haphazard, hurried rush kind of situation, but I think it turned out cute enough to where it worked out really well. I think it'll look really cute with beady eyes in the future. But today, we're going to be making this guy. A really, really goofy version of Gary. And the thing about it is that after I got done making the entire pattern, because I got everything all put together, I drew it up, made my estimates, got my paper, which just floated away on me. There it is. After I made my pattern, came up with the way I was going to put it all together, then I realized I don't have enough blue. So today, instead of doing just a normal, we're going to do a shiny. I've got plenty of red. I've got underbelly. I've got the fin color. So this is what we're going to make today. It's going to be a shiny Gary. I've got all the pieces set up, but the unfortunate side is I'm so busy sometimes that I just don't really have time, and then I wind up forgetting all the little details of what I'm trying to do and fall behind, which does make me feel a little bit foolish. But unfortunately, there's only so much I can do about that, and some days it just seems like even worse. So now I get to make the whole thing now. I'm trying to put everything aside and make sure I get it all in the right colors. So we've got red. This is going to be white. I think the lips are going to be the chartreuse, the cream color. This is going to be red. No, this is going to be a dark gray. That's right. I've got dark gray. This is going to be this is the belly. So this is going to be cream colored. I'm going to make one of each for these cream colored. This is going to be cream and then white, red. I've got most of my colors here. And I feel like I'm wasting time sometimes by having to do this with you guys, but the downside is sometimes I just don't have time to do the extra stuff before I get on. And it's not like I don't care. It's just that right now, normally the first thing I'd be doing is we would open up a pack with my son. And that pack is sitting in the back room because he's gone to the library with his mom because it was a busy day. So I'm going to draw all this out. We're going to do it as quickly as we can. It's really not like it's difficult to draw the patterns and stuff, to cut it all out. It's just that it's not fun either. I've mentioned many times that even doing something goofy that's meant to be super fast and easy, just doing this part is never really the part that I enjoy. And I just realized that I have to adjust this a little bit. I didn't have enough in one single piece of paper to put the body in one spot, so I got two separate pieces to overlay here. So I'm trying to set this over. Now, I can't see the camera at all. The camera is way over here, and I am way over here. So I won't be able to see any messages, but I will come back to them as soon as I can. I scroll as often as I can to kind of catch up. So if I miss something, I do greatly apologize. But basically, I'm just going to kind of vamp as I'm going through all this, explain the whole process. I also... Turns out my extra phone that I use for the image is dead as well. So what wound up happening is I have a whole bunch of stuff just piling on that are just not working with me. Turns out I had been getting a lot of international orders, which is fantastic in a way. But what's happened now is that some of those orders are becoming a little bit of a problem because I went to the post office today to send something that I had finished. And it turns out, oops, I don't want that side up. It turns out that shipping to France has a new policy that has caused me some problems where I guess I have to do it this side. Basically, I have to pay an extra shipping or extra tax I guess it's a tariff. I don't even know. And I don't know how often that's going to come up, but now I have to kind of readjust all my international shipping. Dang it, I am really just kind of out of it right now. I can't get everything to line up. I don't even know if you can see what I'm doing right now. I'll have to look at the screen in just a moment. I've got all these extra lines now, and that's going to be a pain in the butt because now I have to be able to tell which one's which. And I should be okay with that. I'm going to cut this out before I get myself too confused with it because, like I said, I have all this extra pieces. So I'm also learning about international shipping. I don't know if any of you have ever dealt with any of that. It is not the worst thing under most circumstances, but right now with all these things, from week to week, things will change, and it is driving me crazy. And I know this for a fact because I've sent stuff overseas in a few different places, Italy, France, Germany, the United Kingdom, and I found all these different things I have to adjust when I am shipping to make sure that everything's taken care of, all the little notes and the shipping information, because there's a whole form that I've got to fill out for it. But I sent something not even that long ago, and today it had changed and it increased the price by $35, and I just sent it. It's not like I can make anybody else send any extra money, and it's going to be worse for me if I do anything else. But it's all these business things that are popping up that are seeming so random to me and becoming such a little piece by piece problem. But today we are going to put together this shiny Gary. I thought it'd be kind of neat since I ran out of blue. It's just a coincidence that I had enough of the right colors to make a shiny version. But this will also be my very first attempt at making a shiny. I have an order for a shiny vapor, but I am also filling up orders before I get to it because I try to do everything in the right order. I don't want to jump ahead whenever I don't have to, that kind of thing. So I'm trying my best to be as careful as I can with everything. Let's see, what else do I have now? Let's see, this is the body, so the top's going to be red. This is the mouth. Trying to use as much of the scraps as I can. Make sure I get the fuzz going the right direction. I had this idea of making this mouth very similar to the mouth for the one we did last week, the Polly. Trying to remember the right words, but I'm also trying to say them wrong. I've been getting dinged for saying very specific series of words. And I'm learning that TikTok does not really pay attention to it, but their automated, I guess their AI that they've got running this system is not specific, but at the same time, it has no idea what I'm really saying. It just looks out for certain words. So I have to avoid saying copyrighted words. I have to avoid saying harmful, negative words that might pop up because it thinks I'm doing something that is antisocial. So even if I'm saying that I am in great dislike of a type of fruit, I have to avoid saying the specific word starting with H because it starts telling me, oh, what you're doing may not be appreciated by everybody. I'm like, okay, so that means you're restricting me because I said that word. And I'm learning these details slowly. It's become a little bit of a problem. All right, so this would be mouth. That's underside. I need one of these. And again, what I'm making, I'm going to go ahead and show you. I've just got the sketch because the digital drawing that I have, making this guy, the digital drawing I have is on one of the phones. And I don't have access to both phones because one of them, the battery's dead. And it takes like 2 days to charge. And usually I charge it or I just don't use it. And like I said, it's been one of those days. So one of the things I've been kind of working on letting everybody know is that I am still looking towards the idea of taking requests on these. I am shifting my ability. I'm not like super last minute. That's why I'm able to I did a design that's a little bit more detailed, but I'm also not on time. I work on average at night. I work with my digital stuff, my acrylic painting. I will finish up plushes. I'm constantly working on something and usually has something to do with my orders. But I am working pretty much until like 2 a.m. on average. And then when my son wakes up, whatever time he wakes up, I just have to be up. And then we play and we try and do a little bit of lessons. And he's getting really good at entertaining himself, so that's great. But there's a whole bunch of things that are coming up and around it. So I apologize for not being on time or ahead of everything, but I'm still looking for requests. If I can get people to tell me what they would like to see, it would make it a little bit more fun to do more things for them. But I know that you might be seeing where I'm at and thinking, nah, I don't think I need to bother them with it. Well, I'd rather you bother me with it. It'd be a lot easier if I had some kind of knowledge behind it. So these are going to be red. I'm going to go ahead and do the white. And I lost my fin. I don't think I made a fin. So I'm going to make that really quick. Here's my head. I want the fin to be, let's see, right about here. And again, it doesn't have to, it's not meant to be perfectly perfect. It's actually meant to be goofy. So I have to kind of keep that in mind when I'm doing these. And I also have to keep in mind that the size that I'm working on sometimes makes a big change on how these things turn out too. Again, I am very sorry that I'm a little bit behind and I can't see you guys. I will be back so that I can actually see my screen here in a few minutes. After I get everything cut out. There we go. I think I'm going to make, I can't remember for sure what the shiny version is, but I think I'm going to make the crown a light gray, but I could make it white. I think the light gray will stand out in a nice way. So even if it's wrong, I can fix it later. Normally I would just pull it up on the other phone and be like, oh, okay, that's the details that we need to work on. That's going to be the red. Wait, the fins are probably going to be, man, I don't even know. Does anybody happen to know what color the Shiny Gary's fins would be? Let's see. I'm kind of scrolling to see if there's anything I missed here. Oh, hey, Tina, and hey, Cat B. Well, I hope I don't cause too much boredom in that process. I know you being at work sometimes, it's got to be hard to listen to anything like a podcast at work, let alone something you have to watch or are interested in watching. I'm not even sure. All right, so we're going to do the crown in a light gray. We're going to do the back fins in a white. I guess I might as well do the front fin in the same white. I'll do red on the back. So, all right, let me go get my gray real quick. I'll be right back. All right, once again, sorry about that. And now I need white and white for this. Move this here. Grab some white. I've got several different chunks of white, so I'm trying to find the one that's already been cut up as well. Figure it's easier just to keep cutting the one that's already been started. And these will be 2 each. See if I want fins going this way. Okay, there we go. So one of the things I do keep in mind is when I'm looking at the fur itself, you can see that you might be able to see that there's a direction on it. I know that if you're holding this in person, you can actually run your hands on it. But if you go against it, you can see that it kind of piles up weirdly. But it feels really nice and it makes the plush even feel smoother when you go with the fur. So I like to try and think of what direction I want it to be. So if this is the fin on its back, I imagine that you would pet it this way. So that's the direction I want the fur to go on. So that is why I am paying attention to that particularly. Hey, where did I put my pen? There we go. And I feel like I'm completely lost here. Like I don't even, it's like I've never done this before. And I keep making these things every week. And I would think that over time, I would just get a little bit easier and easier. But apparently, there are some days that just is not going to be the case. Now, also remember, when you're doing 2 sides of a thing, let's say an arm or a foot, an ear, in this case, a fin, you definitely want to make sure that you flip both sides. That way, when you put them together, your outsides will actually match. It is a mirrored thing. And this seems something that's pretty obvious. But I've also had several circumstances where what I do is I draw my design on the grid side of this. And then if I do another side of it, like for example, I've got the head here. This is going to be the face. The other side would actually need to be, if I were to try and figure out the opposite side of it, let's say that it was specific. Oh, here, this is what we'll do. So this is the crest, the crown. If I were to have to draw the other side of it, I have to put it on, flip it over. Now what happens is, like with the face, I've got this is going to be flat, but the back side has this cutout part so that what happens is when I sew that together, it kind of gives it a little bit more rounded shape. Now for me, I have to remember to flip the face over when I make the pattern. Now since this is a mirrored image in itself, it's the same on both sides, it's hard to see why that would be a problem. But there are a lot of circumstances where something like that makes a difference. So whenever you're kind of going through it, so that you know that the grids are always up, so that you always know to draw your pattern this way, always remember to flip it before you do the opposite side of it, whatever the differences might be. I'm sorry that this doesn't have enough difference for it to make a whole lot of sense to explain it that way. But the truth is, hearing it over and over again, and if you just get yourself in that habit, like, all right, I've cut my face out. Yes, I know I'm just going to do some little trickery. Basically, all I did was fold it in half and then kind of move so that I had a little extra range for this wedge. Just get in the habit of doing the opposite side. Eventually, you'll come across something that it's very particular on. Granted, this is just a rough example, but it's something to keep in mind. The more often you get used to doing all these little steps from the very beginning, the easier it's going to be on you whenever there is something that is very specific like that. All right, so I've got the fins. I'm going to do the front fins, the gills, the same way. I want the fur to come down this way as well. Trying to use this material as best I can so that I'm not wasting too much. Now, the good news is I make a lot of small things. So if I wind up having extra space, like right here, I might have all this extra space, I can use that to make mice. So that's okay. I can make rats and mice and other little things like that. But I always advise that you use the space as well as you can. There's no need to waste anything. And I do that because, you know, everything that I do kind of winds up adding up slowly. Like I said, today I wound up spending $35 extra just to get some shipping out. And that's because I wanted to make sure that the piece that they ordered, I gave them a quote. There's nothing I could do about it. It's not my fault. It's not their fault. But at the same time, I felt like it was more my responsibility to make sure that it was covered. And I had that happen one of the first international shipping that I did. The quote was for like 25, maybe 30, and it wound up being 70. And it really kind of put me back. I think I made like $5 on that plush. And that's just the way things work out sometimes. I know that that's how business is. I'm kind of not like a huge rich business tycoon, so it hurts me a lot more. But that's just part of how I feel I have to do things. If I make the promise, I'm going to do my best to do it. And if somebody wants to fix it, then great. So I think that making a shiny version of these guys is going to be kind of a fun idea. There's a lot of different colors that I don't have access to. So I know some of them have like lime green versions and kind of pearlescent colors or stuff that's just off of what I normally carry. So I'm not sure what's on the screen or not. But it kind of makes me wonder. Somebody ordered a shiny Vaporeon, and I'm really excited to kind of do that because I've already made the patterns for both of them. And I know that that's a fuchsia and pink, or like a deep pink and a light pink. The colors I have will work. So it kind of made me wonder how many different colors there were for some of the others. Something like, for example, one of my favorites is the Sizor, and he goes from red to green. And it kind of made me wonder how many times colors shift like that. This guy goes from blue to red, so that's not even like a complementary color shift. So I don't even know how they make their decisions on that too. But that could be fun to make the shiny versions of a few of these different things. And what happens is, with what I'm doing, since I don't know for sure that my pattern's even going to work, I kind of have a little bit of leeway where I can mess up the colors too, because it's all meant to be a little bit more fun and taken in a way that you can enjoy it without having to be 100% perfect. So that's kind of a neat thing to think about experimenting with in the future, is whether or not I want to just kind of make them like that. And I'm not even 100% sure if there's technically a different shiny color for each one. I was talking to somebody, Catbee, in fact, about the different monsters, the Pokemon, and I was telling her that, you know, I know a little bit of information about some. I played back when it was gold because I was wanting to play with my cousin who seemed to be pretty into it at the time. And I quickly realized that I learned more than he did because he was pretty young. So I wound up enjoying it, having fun, and I still love these old guys, and now my son does. But I don't really know all that much about them. It's kind of just piece by piece as I go. All right, so one of the things I had mentioned before was how you have to make sure that you mirror your piece when you go front and back. This would be a better example as to why you have to mirror it, because if you look here, this is off in a slight direction. And if you just do two of the same, then it's not going to work when you flip them over. And again, I am fully aware that that is kind of an obvious thing, that anybody who's been sewing might be like, yeah, obviously you have to do both sides of it so that they go together. Well, part of my goal is to show people you can have fun, and that means teaching them how to do it without having to take it seriously. So I do a lot of repeating those basic simple steps and simple bits of information, just in case someone is deciding, you know what, this is what I want to do today. I'm going to make a plush, and they make something shaped like a leaf or a crown itself instead of just his crest. And you realize halfway through, like, that doesn't fit right. What am I doing wrong? And that's because you have to sew the outsides together. And those little details, again, I know they add up. When you spend a few minutes looking at these things, you realize a lot of the stuff becomes really obvious. But the more you are told, the more you know to think about it. For me, when I was learning, I literally was just putting stuff together. I found some patterns online that I was able to print out for like a simple teddy bear. And I found how to make a simple sphere, a ball. And basically, I just kind of ran with it. And once I started figuring out the basics, because I had no instructions, it was just a pattern, I found myself a little bit more confident in making my own stuff after making a few simple mistakes and realizing how, I guess, a pattern is both important and not important after you've got a little bit of experience. All you need to know is placement. And then from there, everything else just kind of seems real simple. And with what I do here, I'm going to do my best to put a whole bunch of stuff in between it. Sew things between seams. For example, so I've got the back side, I've got the front side. But where I sewed those together, I just tucked in the tail and the two legs. That way I didn't have to attach them separately. Everything was turned right side out, so it was outside against itself. I sewed it in at the crease, and then when I pulled it right side out, they just came with it, and it made it real easy. It is something you can do. You don't have to. There's a lot of different ways you can attach parts to each other. But now you can see, since they go fuzzy side together, they actually do match up. And if you had have accidentally sewed them both on the same way, this is how they would have tried to fit. Which is obviously wrong now, but like I said, when you are transferring from a pattern to one thing, because I don't even draw this twice. I've only drawn it once on my pattern. And then, like I said, I just flip it, so I don't have to worry about making extras. And it seems like something that everybody would do. Back of head. Okay. I've got to do the reds now, and then we will get right to sewing. Trying to look and see what all is going on. Again, I am very sorry if I miss anything. The position of my camera right now is in a position that I cannot see. All right, so the back of my head, I've got this set as the top, and what will happen is, here's the face. It'll go face down. This is the top, and what I've done is I've added this wedge so that I can cause it to, when I sew this part right here, it'll give it this little bit of extra shape, which you can kind of see when I put the ends together, like that. And then I'm going to fit it onto the head, and the face of the head will actually give it most of its shape. Now, there is a possibility that I've done too much, but I think that by lining it up like this and pinching just about 1/4 inch, because when you sew this, you're going to lose that 1/4 inch. Oops, sorry. You're going to sew that 1/4 inch. You can pinch it like that and see what shape it's going to take. And it really looks like it's going to do what I need it to do right here. Maybe a little bit of trimming could be done later, but basically that's what the shape is it's going to take. So that's fantastic. The back of the head, they're going to pet downwards. So I want to do it up. There we go. Like I said, this isn't like a hard part. But the thing is that it feels like if I didn't have to do this part, if I could just find someone that would work with me and do all the tracing and cutting for me, I could sew for days. And it would just be so much easier on me. But it's not. Basically, I do all this by myself. So, all right. So with the face, I think down as well. Yeah, I don't know. Sons are petting it. It's kind of hard to gauge whether I want it to be up or down. So let's see. What would I do with him? Yeah, I think down the face, across the head. It's really hard to tell because I'm picturing this, I guess. So let's go ahead and go upwards. And if we don't like it, maybe I can remember it next time because I tend to draw the arrows on my plushes afterwards. That way I don't have to think about it. The less I have to think between each thing, the better off I am. And I'll show you what I mean for arrows. What will happen is you'll notice in a lot of patterns that there is a line drawn onto the pattern. Here's the head that will indicate the direction of the fuzz. So what direction you want your pattern. So imagine that you are doing this in a cotton material and there's hearts, just a whole bunch of hearts. You would want the hearts to go downwards to look the right way. You want the fuzz to go downwards to be the right way. So I'm just going to put a little arrow on there as a quick reminder. Now, if you're doing your notes for yourself, if you're making these at home, label everything so that you don't get confused. But that little arrow, you might have to do a little bit extra just so you see it. But for me, it's the only writing in pen. So I can do that and be like, oh, that was the pile direction. That makes it a little bit easier on me. I can just tack it down. I don't have to think about it. And the reason that's relevant is because like with the face, I don't know which one I want. So when I sew it together, I'll be like, this was a bad choice. I want it to go the other way. I will draw an arrow and I will know. Little things like that are very helpful. I know that some people will think to themselves that they don't want to do all those little things, but I'm telling you right now, I make this. This is the first time I've made this. I've not made this Gary plush at all. And because I haven't made it, I don't know all the details about it. So I do my very best to keep myself from having to worry. Let's see, that's the front, that's the back. So, yep, I want it to go backwards. And it's just easier than thinking, oh, I will always remember. Because I've made some plushes and didn't come back to them for a year later. And it took me a little bit of time to figure out where all the lines went in each thing. So what's the point in putting yourself in the situation of risking that you'll forget? And that's not even counting the fact that you might decide that you want to sell the pattern, post the pattern, do other things for other people. And the more you have written down the first time, the easier it might be for you to just digitize it and send it off. Again, this is going to be front to back. And what that means is I imagine it being pet this way. So I've got the front at the top so that the fuzz goes this way. Let's see, I now have to get 2 fins. We've already discussed I want it to come out. The very first ones of these that I made, I did the electric rat. And I did the whole process on live. I'm talking about I did the sketches, I did piecework, I cut it all out, and then I had to trace and recut it out. And it felt to me like there's a whole lot of use for that. So somebody could literally just watch that piece by piece, especially if they like bought the pattern, and make the whole thing at home. I have not done that since. And the reason I have not is because I'm not sure how much fun that actually would be. There's a part of me that thinks that watching something like that on a regular would feel incredibly old, incredibly fast. All right, sorry, I had to put my pattern somewhere so it didn't fly away. My fan is on me because here in Oklahoma, while the air conditioner is working, which I am so grateful for, it is still about 100 and something degrees, like 110, 111 outside. It is wild. So we don't have our air conditioner super low, and that's because, it's going to be expensive no matter what we do. So we have it at about 78 or 80. I'm not sure right now, but I've got a fan on me because that's just saving my entire life right now. The good news is we have some water stuff we can do. We have a splash pad nearby, and my son loves it. But again, with the time thing, so that kind of piles on. What have you guys been doing for this heat? I know it's got to be driving some of you crazy. I don't know where everybody's at. And I know I can't see the replies right now, but I know somebody's got to have some kind of fantastic tricks. I want to get one of those giant tarps and run a hose up on the back section of our property because it's just an unused hill. And if I just get a giant tarp and have water running down it, we can have a giant slip and slide, and that would be hilariously fun. I'm really hoping that I've got enough of the details right for where the colors are, that this will look good. The good news is that I think that even if it doesn't look perfect, I think it'll work for what we're doing, the goofy version. But the bad news is I think my son is wanting a blue one. Again, they went to the library today, so they're not here. So he's not here in time to see me make this horrible choice. Well, horrible for him, because I have a feeling that since he requested Gary, that seeing it in the wrong color is going to cause him to flip out. I'm going to have to show him pictures, maybe a cartoon with the red color, so that he doesn't get super mad at me. But I don't know if there's going to be anything I can do to avoid that. I am almost done cutting this out, and then I will be able to come back and look and see what everyone said. His grandparents, my parents got him a little pool. Well, not little pool. It's actually like a 15-foot thing. And I had to mow our yard, weed eat, clear everything in a section so that we can get that up. So yesterday was exhausting, and it was just as hot outside. So anybody who is suffering through that same thing, I feel bad for you. I feel angry about it because I know that on average, none of us have anything that we can do about that. And it just makes me feel angry sometimes. But with any kind of luck, after whatever goes on with this El Nino, we'll be past a lot of it. And things might be changing, but that's going to be hard-pressed anyways. So I'm also kind of curious. I think that when I've looked in the past, most of the people that are here, most of you guys that are watching me, are from the United States as well. It's probably mostly to do with the time difference. I think that like a 12-hour time difference means that a lot of people are just waking up or just going to bed. I guess 12 hours from now, yeah, they're probably just waking up in some places. I've got a few friends that are just a couple hours difference, and that makes a huge change. All right, so now I got to get some of the scraps out of my way so I can reuse it. Some of this is just outright trash, but some of this can be reused. Again, I make these small mice, so having all these small pieces is not the worst thing in the world. And here we go. I can finally rearrange. I'm probably going to find that I forgot something, but that's okay. We'll kind of figure that out as I go. A lot of what I'm doing is literally that anyways. I'm just kind of trying to roll with the punches so I can get everything put together. Staying inside or cold hospital. Yeah, that's true. Being in the hospital's at least got a nice temperature to it. But the deer broke it. Holy crap. Dying from the heat currently. I'm tempted to get a window AC unit. Our home unit sucks. I imagine, Sam, we actually had one. I went and got one of those. In my back room, we have a window unit. And for the hallway, I put up some of those giant blackout curtains so that I could close that room up as much as I possibly could so that I can get some kind of temperature change back there, because it was crazy last year. Last year, our AC died, and they told us they couldn't repair it. This year, I saw something on TikTok that said, you know what, just because they said they can't replace it doesn't mean you can't get the parts. So I had them come back out, tell me what was wrong, and the dude fixed it. I'm so grateful, but I'm so mad that we suffered an entire summer without it. So yeah, I did that last year with the window unit, and we just stayed in the back room like all day. Now let's see it. What else did I miss? Most appreciated D the PR. This, let's see here. Happy Monday. I love watching and learning this work. Thank you for sharing with us. So we can, thank you so much, Bobby. I really hope that you actually are enjoying this. That makes me very happy. I know that what I'm doing is kind of odd and goofy and a little nichey, but my hope is that there's just enough in here that everybody can find some kind of use for it. All right, I have to make sure I forgot to mark the body. Let me do something real quick here. I'm going to show you what I'm talking about. So whenever you make a pattern, I've mentioned how you should mark everything on your pattern, which I explain all the little details and reasons why. But here's the next thing. You're going to find that some of your pieces, look at this, you can't tell front and back from when you're looking at this side. Yes, I can look here like, oh yes, my fuzz goes this way. But also, if it's at an angle, sometimes the fuzz works both ways. Technically, the fuzz is this way on it, which doesn't bother me because it still feels nice and smooth in both directions. But that means what you should be doing, or what I should be doing, is also making sure that I notate on the material. So you can see from here, there is a slight difference. This side is slightly longer of a wedge than this side. So it does kind of line up. Now let's double check to make sure. And it does make it very hard to tell. So let's see if I can tell from this one. Nope. I believe that this is the direction that I chose. So I believe that's the top. And here's what I'm trying to explain. There is going to be a top and a bottom, a front and a back, a left and a right on a lot of these. So if you mark it accordingly, let's say, oops, front, back, on your material as well, even if you just put one mark, it'll keep you from having the problems of trying to figure it out in the end. So now I know these two pieces will go together like this, since the mark is on the same side. This is a subtle difference. This wedge and this wedge are so close that when you've cut it out, because you can't see it 100% perfectly, you can't tell if maybe you cut it uneven or if maybe you move the pattern a little bit. If you just toss this in, you won't have as much of a problem trying to figure out what parts go together. Now, some things it's obvious. So this is obvious because the wedge is only on one side and that's at the bottom. And I know that. On my paper, I've wrote top and bottom, but that'll make it a little bit easier. Let's see. On this one, again, the fin, you can tell a difference in shape. So this is wide. But when I do stuff like my mice or anything else, I try and put a little mark on things to distinguish. The smaller it gets, the harder it is to track and tell what you're working with. John McAdams. Yes, that is and what's funny is I imagine that everything that was made by somebody who failed at it 47 times in a back dark room where nobody cared and checked in on them. So I love doing it here. Let's see. I'm rolling back just to kind of see what I miss on here. Let's see. This is a Gary. I'm not calling it what it's actually called. And I'm sorry, Cat B. I know you were going to look a minute ago, but the reasoning, again, is because I want to make sure that I don't say the wrong words too much, because the TikTok AI is completely like judgmental and does not understand the subtleties, difference between trying to sell something and just referencing something over and over again. And in this case, while I don't mind selling them, it's not like I'm trying to sell TCGs of some sort. I'm not trying to get someone to buy packs while I'm here. I also have to be careful about saying that word. I'm sure that if I say that too many times, it's going to ding me as well. All right, so I'm kind of lining everything up. I've got my white material here. I am making these parts first. And the reason is because what's going to happen is when I sew the head together, let's see, I'm going to show you on the face. When I sew the face together, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to place these into the seam, so that I don't have to manually attach it later. Let's see, I'm going to tilt down just a little bit more. I think that'll help. So what will happen is if I don't sew these now, again, this is the first time I've made this, I'm going to wind up forgetting otherwise. And this is my way of double checking and making sure that I do these things in the right order, which has only come from me failing at it several times. Okay. Let's see. This is going to be a pretty easy sew. I think I can line this up, but I'm going to show you anyways. I'll try it on the other one, but for now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and use these pins, and I'm going to hold it in place. Now, the reason you use pins is because as you are sewing between the boot, which is this part right here, and the feed dogs, which are the bottoms that kind of literally lift and feed it backwards, one of the other might catch and cause one of the materials to stretch. So you'll wind up with something like this, or one of the materials might bag up. So it does that. If you pin them in place, you have less chance of it doing that, and it makes it easier for you to sew a nice, clean, straight line. This is not something you have to do all the time. Right here, my main concern is the fact that I'm going to be making these curves, and between each curve, as I'm turning it, I don't want it to start to jump up on me, move around, come lopsided. And the thing about that is that sometimes you don't have to worry about it. And I'm going to find out when I sew this if I feel like I need to or not. But I might not do that on the second one. I might be like, oh, that seems just fine. I'm just going to run through it. And the same thing happens when I do bigger pieces. You know, if I do this face, I'm probably going to pin the whole thing. And that's because the further you go, just a tiny bit of stretch. See, just enough stretch, like you can barely see my fingers moving. That all the way across adds up to like an inch. And the more it happens, the further you go, the less balanced and even that stitch will become. For me, I like to do my stitch on the right-hand side. And that's why I've got all my pins facing this particular direction. It's just a little bit easier for me. I'll kind of move my light around a little bit. And I'm also going to pull the pins out because today has been one of those days and I don't want to catch the pin. I took that out early because I was able to pin it down with my hand, just hold it down in place. Now with points like this, you have to decide how far you want that point to go. I left the excess on there. I made it a little bit longer. So I only wanted it to be this, but I made it a little bit longer so that when I stopped, it looked like I have a lot of excess up here, but that's part of the plan. And I will show you why. Not only do you get the loss, or I think they refer to it as allowance, but you see how far the edge of the material is from where my needle is? It's about 1/4 of an inch, more or less. So you're going to lose that no matter what you do when you sew. But at a point like this, you also have the fact that you can't bring it all the way to the edge anyways. So you get the loss, you get a few other little details, and you just kind of plan out for that change. And of course, you've got to plan for that excess anytime you sew. It's just that it seems a little bit more relevant when you're doing something that has a point on it. And I kind of wanted to point that out because that's how much excess I have. That's where my stitch ends. You can see right about here. And then I've got like 1/2 inch, maybe more excess there, which just seems like loss. But at the same time, that's just how it kind of comes together. If you sewed all the way up to that point, you're not going to get that much of a point on it anyways. And out. It looks like the pinning it may have helped me a little bit, but I also think that some of it kind of stretched out on me anyways. Now, another thing I want to point out to you, everybody, if you are wondering why I'm not doing a zigzag stitch or going back over it with a zigzag stitch, and what I will do is I will show you on this piece because it's the smallest one I've got. Well, actually, no, I'll do it on the lips. The lips are being really small. A zigzag reinforces your stitch. It does make the whole plush way stronger. And that's definitely a good thing. But for me, I'm so used to sewing small that I started just doing the straight line stitch on this material, this minky material. Minky is the type of material. It's not like a descriptive term. But basically, this material is very strong, very sturdy. And with that little bit of allowance that I give it, and the straight end stitch, I have actually had plushes that I have had for years washing them regularly. I made my wife, then my girlfriend, a star pillow, and she used it all the time, which of course meant that her dogs were on it all the time and that she spilled food on it all the time. So we washed it a lot, and it's still going. It was yellow, so it didn't retain any stains, and it was a pretty big size plush, so she could use it as a pillow. And it's just a straight stitch. And I do that because most of my stitches are done on small plushes where I just don't have the room to do a zigzag. Not in the same way. I'm right up against the edge, and I don't have the room to slide the material over so that I could do the zigzag afterwards. I have since learned that I can for special occasions when I need to. For example, if I'm using a silky material. But that is why I don't do it on average. And what I will do is, here in a moment, I'm going to go ahead and pull up the part that I'm using as the lips. And I'm going to show you roughly what that would look like, just so you can have that as an idea. And you can decide if that's something worth you doing whenever you sew your own plushes at home. Because it is helpful. It's one of those good things to know. Let's say you're making something for a kid and you really want to make sure it's strong. All right, so these are going to be the lips. What I'm going to do is, this is how I do this. Whenever I do a zigzag, I have to do double the stitching. So I'm going to go ahead and go start one. It's close to the edge. I'm going to follow really close for the whole thing. I'm doing it really slow because I've got this sharp turn. And this is another reason why making the double stitch is kind of hard, because there's a little bit of extra concentration that I have to kind of put into it so that it kind of balances out across the whole thing. But as you can see, I'm still able to go at a pretty decent pace. Mostly from practice, I guess. But it still falls into the category of possibility. One moment here. All right, now, I'm leaving this open for the hole so that I can right-side it out. And then I'm going to go ahead and sew the next piece. Let's just do this real quick since it'll be easy. This is the wedge at the back of the head. Now I'm going to show you this real quick. This is the shape of the wedge. It's hard to tell, but this is rounded out. If you round it in, it'll make it tighter. If you round it out, it'll give you a bubble. So you can see right here, it arches. So what's going to happen is the material is going to do its best to take that shape when you stuff it. So that's going to be the big deal. Oh, let me scroll back here. Do you have to wash it in salt first, or it doesn't bleed? Honestly, I have not had any of this bleed. That being said, it is always mentioned everywhere that I have looked that it is best to wash your material beforehand. Now, these get softer, I think, whenever you wash them. But my problem is that when I buy new material, here, let me show you. When I buy new material and I buy it by the yard, I've got all this edge. The entire edge is unsewn. That's from where it was cut. I've got a factory edge right here, which is safe. And on the other side, there'll be a factory edge. But what has happened to me is when I wash things, even on gentle, they start to come unraveled. Or it kind of starts to ruin that. But I do suggest that you try it your own way. Definitely try with your new materials, especially with reds. If you give it a good quick wash, it'd be definitely helpful. I didn't realize how fun it would be to watch someone else sew while I'm sewing. Fantastic. Maybe between the two of us, we can have a little bit of what is it called whenever you have multiple people hosting? Co-host. Probably it is just co-host. So basically, I've got this little bit wedge here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to sew it to the end. I'm using this as a handle, basically, so I can get started. Now, right here is the edge, or the wedge. Oh, no. I've already missed. Yep, so I have to redo this. Well, the good news is I didn't go very far. See, I didn't line it up perfectly, so when I started sewing, it just kind of drifted on me, which is always a little bit annoying, but at the same time, since I saw it, it made it easier. But basically, what I'm trying to say is I'm going to sew and I'm going to round this out instead of going right off. And I'm going to show you that real quick. Just got to make sure I keep the edges together. And all the way in. Have to back stitch it, of course, but basically, oh, actually, you know what? I'm doing like two different things all at the same time. So we're both making strawberry theme plush, it seems. It's definitely the same colors. I'm making a shiny Gary, which is a not copyrighted version of a dude that's copyrighted. That's kind of a weird way to say that, I guess. I can't say what I'm making exactly, what I'm inspired from, because TikTok dings me on it. Okay, so here's what we do. I now have centered my needle. Normally, let me see if I can, you know what? I think that I can move this and let you see just a little bit closer. I don't know what the focus is going to do, so I'm going to try and lock the focus. Let's see if it'll let me lock it. Nope, it will not. Nope. Hey, oh. Okay, so normally my needle is right there. I sew it really close to the right-hand side. That way I can use the edge of the boot and the needle, and I'll know how close to the edge it is because I work so small I don't have the room for it. So now I'm going to center it. So now the needle is in the middle, and just for perspective, there's the left. So now you can see. All right, now I'm going to put my needle down right where that previous stitch was. I am going to do just a couple back stitches, lift, and now I'm going to show you here. This will be the zigzag. This is how tight the stitch is. I'm not going to change this. I'm not concerned with it being a tighter stitch. But what I am going to do is switch this over to about 2 and some change, just under 3. So now the zigzag between each press of the needle will be left and then right. The intention here is to get the left side right where the stitch is and the right side just off the material. So you can see right there it's coming off. Well, maybe you can see. It's kind of hard to tell what you can and can't see. So just off the material and then just on, right about at the stitch. And what this is going to do is it reinforces the material so that it doesn't fray. It gives you a secondary stitch so that you have 2 lines of thread. Sorry, I'm having to look over my phone while I'm doing this. It's so close. But you can see what's happening. It's going right on the outside of the material. Oh no, it's kind of really hard to tell, isn't it? Did I just heart my own thing? I think it just hearted myself. That's goofy. All right, I'm trying to, let's see if I can do this so that this is the focus. I'm really doing my best to keep the camera from switching over so that you can see. And I think that I'm just going to have to give up on that because it's not going to work with me. So I'm going to go ahead and do this pretty quickly. I like to stop when I have to move it with the needle in the material. That way I don't have to worry about it like drifting on me some way. It's almost done. Again, I can't tell what you can see. I can't literally look at the camera while I am doing this. Oh, this one I have to go off. There we go. One more stitch. All right, now I'm going to recenter it. So if you watch the needle, you'll see that it changes position. Oh, nope, it didn't. It's actually set. Okay, now you should be able to see it change position. See it right there? That's me turning off. That's me turning off the zigzag. So now what will happen is I'm going to recenter it, put the needle down, and then I will just do a couple back stitches. Just enough to keep it from coming unraveled if something does happen to it. There we go. Let's see what happens here. Your tension seems off. I'm not sure. It might be. So let me show you what I've got. So on this side, it looks pretty balanced. You can see the white on the red. This side seems okay. And when I right side it out, I don't seem to have any stitches coming through. Now, so that's actually not that. What happened was I had to do it twice. That's because I missed it the first time. So that's not the same stitches. That's actually extra stitches that are not part of the process. We pull those out of the way. So the Thelma's bar Sorry, I had to like sound out your name slowly. Sorry about that. All right, so do you still think the attention seems off? Because if it is, I have no problems with adjusting. What I am making is a plush. So I make these goofy, here, let me back up just a little bit. I make these goofy monster plushes from a very popular anime and trading card game. And today I am making a goofy Gary. Hard to see the drawing. His name's Gary. If you know who it is, then that's an automatic explanation. But I'm making it as a shiny version. So I'm making a plush. Yeah, and I'm not sure if... so if you guys do see... I want to be very clear about this. I am self-taught. There are so many things that I'm sure that I don't know. And every now and then somebody will tell me something new. So Thelma's Bar, if you see what I'm doing wrong, it looks like the top layer moves. It may have. Definitely may have. It seemed like it wanted to be pretty level. But I think that, let's see, if I'm doing between the two of these, yeah, this one may have shifted on me too. And that could be me too, because part of what happens is I like feed and push and pull and winds up being imperfect in a lot of little ways. So when you see me doing something, please always remember to tell me. I am very happy to change what I'm working on. Crawfish, that is the very first stream. It turned out, oh yeah, the plush mouse. Yeah, plush is so tricky. This material does a lot of weird things. That's also why I leave this in here, because when I start the next piece, I can just use this as a handle to kind of help get it started and just a little bit of pressure. When I work on the small mice, that's really important. I really have to have something to help me do those. And another thing that happens is whenever you got these furs, when you line them up, sometimes what will happen is you think it's lined up and then the fur will shift. And you'll realize that it just kind of does not want to play with you. Excuse me. Today I managed to eat on time. I got done eating and I didn't have to rush. Well, I did rush, but I didn't have to rush it seconds before getting on. So that's progress as well. What's going to wind up happening is I'm going to figure out a way that I can set myself up with a certain time and just tell everybody, hey, I need to work on this. You're going to have to watch the baby. And then I'm going to tell the baby, hey, why don't you just go play with somebody else. Go play with Chip. He's getting old enough where he can actually entertain himself. So I'm getting a little bit of difference in time. But I also always feel like I am not spending enough time with him, which I guess is normal. I keep seeing that. But it doesn't make me worry less about it. It just makes me think that maybe I am over-worrying. Though I'm still going to do it. As goofy as that all sounds. I'm sure there's more than a few of you that have kids that feel that the same way. It's like, it's super stressful. I need my time. I have to work. I have to do this. But then, oh, of course, you're very cute. I'm going to hang out with you. I mean, you are my child. I love you. And just a couple more. If you look at my account, you can see my Furby cosplay. Oh, I definitely want to see that. Do me a favor, Thelma's Bar. If you would please send me a message. I will probably look at the comments afterwards, but sometimes TikTok does not let me. So if you send me a message to remind me, I will definitely go look at it. If you, there was something else. I did not realize I wasn't following you. I see your vids so often. I guess I thought I was. That's funny. Also great, Crawfish. I'm super happy that TikTok is forcing you to watch me, even though you aren't following. That makes me kind of laugh. Obviously. Okay, so I've got back fin, I've got crest, I've got, oh, here we go. This will be the other face fin, whatever the word is for it. Probably more of a gill, but I don't feel like gill is the right word for it. And lining these up, once again. Yeah, I'm going to have to tack this in place. There's enough space and enough curve that everything is just going to kind of start to slowly shift off anyways. That's what happened when I did the other one. But I know that it would have been so much worse if I didn't pin it at all. And sometimes it's hard to even tell where you want to put the pins. One thing I keep in mind is I want to make sure that the pins don't interfere with this. So I always have to angle it and put different placement. So like when I'm coming around here, this isn't in the way of where the boot's going to be, and this one will be taken out by the time it gets that far. So it is a little different depending on what you're working on. Doing the bellies of my mice, I have to shift everything one direction except for the last one. So it just kind of changes the plan as you go. I just realized I don't think I cut out the back for the red. Yep, I did not. Right now, I'm also not worried about sewing this part. Here, let me show you what I mean. I'm not worried about sewing right here because what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to feed this into the seam of the head, and I'm working on deciding whether or not I want this stuffed. I think what I'm going to do is put a little bit of fluff in it so that it stays out. I don't want it to be too floppy, but that's why I'm not sewing anything in that far, in case you were kind of curious. If you can see what I'm building in your head and you see what I'm going for, then now you know that I'm not going to be attaching it afterwards, so I don't need to worry about anything after I flip it right side out. I have also just went right over one of my needles, which is fine. I usually do. There's a running joke for anybody that's been here for a while about how I will run over my needles. I'll talk about how it's okay and I don't have too much problem just in time to hit a needle, break a pin. And I've got a couple here now that are from exactly that happening. So it's kind of up to you. I've been trying to take it out today because of how today's been going. I don't need to perpetuate bad luck by inviting it in. And if you know what I'm talking about, you know what I'm talking about. I'm not superstitious, but I'm also not interested in tempting fate when I don't have to. I am definitely a tempter, but there are days when it just is not worth the effort. And I used to be very confrontational. And while I am not confrontational now, I also don't have a problem with it. It's just the difference is I used to be petty and confrontational. All right, so I'm going to show you something real quick here before I forget. See these sharp curves? The little valley that occurs right here? One of the things you're going to want to keep in mind is that when you right side this out here, in fact, I'm just going to go ahead and show you what it's going to roughly do. When you right side it out, because of the shape of the material, it's going to do its very best to maintain its actual shape. So it's got that flat point right there, that gap that's right in the valley. And because of that, it could do a lot of different things. In this case, it's not going to be so bad because I'm not concerned with it, but you might do something later that makes a difference. But you see right here, how it kind of seems a little bit gnarly, like it doesn't want, there's like a fold in here. There's parts of it that are starting to twist. What's happening is the curve of this material is trying to stay faced out the same way as the rest of this. Now, it's not a conscious decision, of course. I mean, it's just material, but still what's happening is it's trying to pull itself. So what you do is you come in before you right side it out, you can narrow this valley a little bit, or you can just cut a little slit right there up to that corner. Make sure you don't cut your thread. But you cut that little slit right there. And when you right side it back out, you'll see that it actually folds into that shape just a little bit better. There are zigzag cut scissors that you can get that also help with that. And you could do that in longer circumstances and a lot of different things. But if you don't have those like me, that gives you a good option for it. But now you can see the whole thing lays flat. It's not bunched up. It's not trying to twist. It doesn't round out in the same way. It does actually have a valley like what you sewed. So it's just a little detail that could be very helpful when it comes to sewing stuff like this. Now, I'm not worried about doing it here, but I'm going to show you. You can, right here, if you feel this, there is all that extra material that was at that corner that is in the way. If you squeeze it, you can feel almost like a knot inside there. And even when you stuff this up, that knot might still appear. Now, you can always hammer it down. I'm not going to do that here because I'll just break my sewing machine. You can use like the back of your scissors. You can get like a mallet. You can use anything that you can hammer it down and it'll flatten it out a bit. But if instead what you want to do, what I like to do, and you definitely have the option for, is let me go ahead and flip this back again. This is just the easiest way that I have found to do this, where I don't have to worry about there being that knot. Pay attention to where your thread is, to where your stitches are, and just cut that excess off. If you had that zigzag, you would still have a little bit of excess here. So it would still possibly knot up. But now you won't have all that excess material trying to force its way into that little corner. And it might actually make your corner a little bit more sharp instead of being rounded, because there's not all that material in there. Go ahead and do this. If I was making two of the same thing, I would definitely make them both one way, the other. But this is going to be the only one that's going to be on this guy. So now it's a lot softer. There's no backed up material trying to force its way into that corner. You got a little bit more. I would say you may have a little bit more of a sharper edge there. But it's also not so major that I would be concerned about it, except for that knot. And the knot makes such a big difference on plushes, because what are you going to do? You're going to cuddle your plush. This is the way. I love it. I think I just saw you say voila as well. Do you clip the, yep, that's what I was just mentioning. I zigzag my edges too. Yeah, I had talked about that a minute. Wrong button. I had talked about that a minute ago with, I showed the zigzag. I didn't show the final results. Let me show you that now. So the zigzag, it's really hard to tell because it's white on white. But what has happened here is the stitch line. Let me see if I can get it to show you. Trying to adjust the lighting, see if that kind of helps out at all. You can see that I missed the one stitch here, so that's the zigzag. But the intention was to get it along the same line as the original stitch. Now the good news is right here, that's essentially 2 stitches, maybe even 3 if I didn't get quite off the edge. But my goal was to have 1 stitch on and 1 stitch off the material. And what that does is it stops this from fraying. Now, with the stitch being on, I'm not sure how well it stops it from fraying, but I do think it is still an effective double stitch. In fact, right here is probably the only spot that it looks like I got it off and then on. And you could see what'll happen is it'll stop it from kind of pulling apart. At the very least, when there's 2 sets, when I've got 2 lines, because this is my straight stitch and this is where the inside of my zigzag is, that's just double the stitch at the very least. Now, I cannot tell you one way or another what is best. I can tell you that I don't usually do the zigzag. I just do the 1 stitch right across, and I run with that. And I have washed these plushes. I have slept on them. They've gotten completely dirty and disgusting, and played pillow fights with them, and they've not come apart. I've actually not had a single series of machine stitches come undone from my plushes. My material dies before my stitches do. So for Minky, I'm not worried about it. If I do cotton, I am almost always going to do some sort of zigzag stitch, except on my mice. And that's because they're so small that I don't really have the room for it. And I'm still very confident that it's going to hold together really well. All right, let me see where I'm at here. I've got top fin, I've got crest, I've got lips, I've got 1 fin, 2 fin, I've got my head bump. I'm going to go ahead and sew my back together. There we go. And I'm going to have to cut out my pieces for the, let's see. Again, I've lined these up with these little notches so that I know where they are. I'm going to have to cut up the back of the coiled body. Another thing that I might do in the future for this is mark which side needs to be sewn. I can tell that this is rounded in a more even way, and this has a wedge and a flat side. But I think that it would be better if I just marked it so I wouldn't have to worry about thinking about it. And again, I'm going to go ahead and pin this. It's just long enough where it's just going to be a little bit more convenient for me. Again, with the fuzz, you might notice sometimes that the fuzzes go the same direction. And what happens is I swear that they line up when they are mixed. And then when I go to sew, they like push each other aside. They really just do not want to work with me sometimes. So that's why pinning on this is kind of hit and miss, whether or not I will do it. It does also make a difference when I've sewn something several times. I know what to expect with that particular piece. with this being the only time I might wind up ever making a Gary, I just kind of pin it. Just do it so I don't have to think about it. These plushes that I make on Mondays, they're always meant to be something that I could potentially, I guess, market out. But I always think of them as something fun to do that can show a goofiness, can show you how to improvise as you're working. And at the very end, at the very least, my son gets a plush, which is also super fun. You can see right there, I just went right over the needle. And that's because the spacing on my stitch is pretty decent. I've got it set at like a 2. Oh, yeah, I've got it set at a 2. Just over a 2. And the pins are so small that they usually do not have a problem. But I assure you, you can break needles. You can break your pins. Let me show you my magic pin from the very first time that ever happened while live. I was just mentioning how I don't have to worry about it too much. And, oops, hold on a second. I got some thread kind of in my way. I just mentioned how I don't have to worry about it. Somebody came in and said, "You're brave for sewing over your pins." And then I did this. My needle landed right on top of my pin, and it broke the needle, and the pin just turned into this. Now I keep this as a keepsake. Sounds like people might be home. Have you ever made a plushie of a character from one of your son's drawings? Not yet. However, I did make a plushie from one of a friend's kid's drawings. I'm going to make another one because it was both the son and the daughter that made something. And I will show that off sometime soon. But I had to get some confirmation on how it was supposed to look. Because the kids' drawings... Here, if you give me just a second, I'll actually go get it and show you what I'm talking about. The kids' drawing was kind of weird, though. I'll be right back. So I think what's going to happen is my son is going to start drawing and wanting his own plushes very soon. He just turned 5, and he loves these plushes that I make. But this is what that person drew. I don't really know how to explain what it's supposed to be, but I can guarantee this is almost exactly what it looked like. And it was a lot of fun to try and figure out. I was kind of worried about making the embroidery look good because on Minky, it's really hard to get it smooth. And they are home. Hi, everybody. I'm making a Gyarados, but unfortunately I was out of blue, so I have to make the shiny Gyarados so it's red. What? Yes, I know, and I'll show you when I made the busy mat. What did you do with the busy mat?
You make a big one.
Yes, I'm trying to make it kind of big. Hey, Grumpy Pumpkin. Grumpy Pumpkin was here for one of my first ones when I was actually making their mouse.
I want smoker toys.
Let's see, it moves. Plushies in general, I know more than 200. I've made quite a few, not just counting the same type, but also like on Wednesdays I make my own. Yes, just straight line drawings for the appendages. Yeah, just these little goofy arms and legs.
My Pokemon.
Yes, you can have your Pokemon. I was just using it as an example to show some people. All right, so I'm double checking to make sure my stitch is good. Yeah, his wing. It's blue. What's blue? His wings are blue? Uh-huh. Oh, okay. All right, so let's see what we've got here. I've got body. I've got the underside of that body. I've got face, head. I've got the underside of the coiled part of the body. I need to get red for this. Okay, let's go ahead and do that real quick, but I have to keep this with me. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yeah, his mouth is usually open, and if I have to make a different one with an open mouth, I definitely will. This one's going to have a closed mouth, though, okay?
No, I want to.
Okay, well, the next time I will make it with an open mouth, I promise, okay? Yeah, and I'll make it blue as well. See, I told you. I told you. So, what happened with the busy mat? You were saying something about I would never guess what happened when you made your busy mat. I'm thinking that because we were talking about the pin, that you wound up actually hitting your pin as well. I appreciate that, Thumbs Bar. I can only hope that I'm doing at least something right. Okay, so let's see. I got to get this lined up here. Now, I know that what happened was I made the tail part. Let me go ahead and do some shifting here. So I'm trying to readjust everything so that you're not talking to nothing. Okay, so here's this. I got to get all my parts real quick. There's that. All right, I know that when I made this side, I did it like this instead of like this, like I intended. Because I like to keep the grid all facing the same direction. But I had drawn it and messed up. So now I want to make sure that I do it correctly here. So side one, this side was face up like this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn the whole thing over. And you know what? I don't like having all that extra space. It's not going to matter, but I hate having that happen. I only get sections of material at a time, and usually about 12 inches is enough for me to do anything I'm working on. So let's see. And I'm going to double check what I'm doing. Again, the reason I'm double checking is mostly because I have never made this before. As I've already made it clear, a lot of this is done as a haphazard first time run. Let me shift a little bit more. Hey, there we go.
He's got big eyes.
Yes, he's got real big eyes. Vance, I need you to back up just a little bit, please. Nope. Back up.
I hope you'll match.
Well, yeah, I would, but let me double check here. So
No,
this was the side that I did it. So I want to flip it over so that I can make sure it's the same. And from
We stop.
wait.
We stop.
So I've got
And I put now with my way.
okay.
Like down, flop.
You want to flip it?
Uh-huh.
Okay, well that's going to be the wrong side because if I do them both the same, they won't fit together. So what I have to do is I have to flip this to make sure it is correct, so that basically this is the outside and the other outside, so they line up together.
Like this.
Exactly.
And like this.
That's correct.
Like wait. Oh no! Look.
That's okay. It's two separate pieces, and then that's going to slightly overlap. So
Like this.
yep, you move it down just a little bit,
Red.
just like that.
Red.
Yes, sir. All right, I need you to back.
my way,
Nope,
move
nope.
my
I
way.
need you to move out of my way.
Red.
All right. Hey, wait. Stop. Vance, I need you. Thank you. Sorry about that, buddy. But you were right. This is the right way to put it. So that's good. All right. So get this out of the way here. Slide all this up. Make sure I've got enough room on it. The fuzz is going down, but it's actually going to be going sideways because of the angle here. This kind of makes me want to make a scorpion. Like I haven't made a scorpion. On my Wednesdays, I've been making weird plushes for my own designs. I've made a Mothman. I made a mushroom slug. And I've been trying to figure out what I'm going to do for the next one. And maybe some kind of scorpion theme something would be a lot of fun. Just because this red looks really cool. But I also could do it like a mouth, a giant gaping mouth. All right, just got to line this up real quick. And what's going to happen is in the future, I'm going to actually tape these two pieces together so that I don't have to worry about accidentally making the same mistake again. I just forgot completely when I did the belly side because I had forgotten to tape it. Let's see, get this kind of lined up. That should be good. That should be good there. All right, just get all that cut out. I can't, baby. I'm over here working on something, okay? My nose is itching. If you look around, you can see all this white fuzz. That's in the air as well. White fuzz, red fuzz, gray fuzz, everything. Well, come look. See all that fuzz? all over the place. Watch. It's in the air. It's everywhere. All right, back up. I don't want you sneezing. Yeah, see, you tried to catch it. No. Thank you. He's covering my nose so it doesn't get in my nose. Thank you. All right, get away from me. You're bothering me. You smell funny. Thank you, buddy. I appreciate it. That's very kind of you. All right, let's get this cut out real quick. We are actually really close to having this sewn together. There's a few things I'm going to hand stitch. I'm going to hand stitch the crest on. I'm going to hand stitch the lips on. And I think that I plan to be able to insert the coil body into the back of the first hump. And if I did, which I'm pretty sure I did, that'll be a little bit easier to sew. It's just I have to do it in the right order because there's so much of it. And I think I'll have to leave it unstuffed. Normally I stuff the parts that I insert, but that's also because they're smaller too. So 1 second here, we'll kind of do a little bit of looking. Okay, get this all out of the way. And sorry about that, guys. I'm kind of bouncing around. Yeah. Also, my area is a little bit cleaner. This is a mess, but it's nowhere near as much of a mess as it was. I promise. Please, Scorpion, for Wednesday, do one like UV. What do you mean UV? I'm assuming you mean ultraviolet, but I don't have any materials that'll do that, and I don't know what I don't have a light to compare it, so I can't see which ones will show up right. Let me see what I've got here. I'm scrolling back. I realize I can hear the bird in the background. I've got 4. I think I just tuned it out. That's funny. Boyd has actually been here for a while, and Catbee noticed it pretty early on too. I love that you make your own patterns. I do too, especially with my kids' cosplays. That's fantastic. I love the idea of. I kind of want to learn how to make like fursonas, mascot type costumes and stuff. But I don't want to do the foam for it. I broke my first needle with a ball of the pin. Oh! Wow! You hit it hard too. Just as the baby. Oh, that sucks. Let's see here. I just realized. Yep, Boyd is my bird. Weird Wednesday, please. Yes, this is why I sew after they go to bed. Yeah, I can't. I don't have the time, and I kind of watch them at night. Hey, Tina Ta, I'm glad you're back. Hopefully, work's not being too annoying. Scorpion, do it. The ones that show in the light. I would love to. I just don't have that option. Just got home. Can't be sewing. Throw the cut pieces into the dryer or air fluffer for a minute. Might get rid of the cutting debris. It might, but it also I don't have. If I'm cutting it now. And then doing it, I have all the fuzz in the way anyways. So I've kind of learned to just kind of go with it. Glow in the dark paint. I might be able to. There might be some. Hey, stop it! Stop it! Get out of here! Take off, you hoser! No, get out of here! Go! Fine, then I shall tickle you. I shall tickle you. Yeah? They can't help you. They're far away. Take off. No. I gotta sew, buddy. I gotta sew.
It can come out.
All right. It's not coming out because it's still. Stop! Now he went from trying to help me with the fuzz to try and put the fuzz on my face. What a betrayal! Betrayal. All right, so now let me go ahead and cut this out real quick. Oh, I love you, buddy. Now, what I'm going to wind up doing is because I want to actually tuck this into the back of the hump. So that I can sew it in between and not have to attach it afterwards. I'm also going to have to make sure that I remember, and this is going to be hard to remember, that I want to keep a section of this open. Just like with the lips where I had that small spot where I left it unsewn so that I could right side it out. And with the crest, the same thing, that spot that I kept pulling it in and out of. I have to remember to do that here, but it has to be on the side because this part is going to go into the back of the first section of the body. I'm saying this out loud for 2 reasons. 1, so you know what I'm talking about. And 2, because... see you later, Thelma. 2, because if I say it out loud, I'm way more likely to remember what I'm trying to remember. What's up, baby?
Papa, what? This is yellow. This is red. This is red. This is yellow.
No, that's going to be gray. I actually had that as gray. I can't guarantee that's the color it would be, but that's the color we're going with right now because I only have one phone and I couldn't look it up.
You with me in my
Most of the time, Mandy takes the baby into the back room so that we don't have to worry about back and forth and back and forth. But at least he's a fun dude. There are times when, with any children, they kind of get to be a bit much. But he's pretty decent at listening to when things go bad. I mean, he was a kid for a few minutes there, but he also wasn't constantly just, I need this, I need that, huh? I'm trying to give him a hard time, but he's already gone to the other room. All right, so I'm going to sew all this up. This is going to be one long stitch. I'm trying to make sure that I have all these points kind of lined up. I think I've got it on as well so you can see what I'm working on. I don't know the level of goofy to expect out of this. In my mind, it seemed really funny to have the head like this big, thick, rounded piece, and then the first lump of the body right after the head to be really thick as well. But then have the rest of this just seem so haphazardly and like basically just thrown together. And it seemed to me like that would make it real funny. Now, the reason I thought about that, though, is because the other option I had was I was going to make a whole bunch of little section pillows. Like each one of these bumps was going to be like a knotted pillow. And then I was going to make buttons to like connect them so they come apart. It kind of makes me think of one of the centipede characters from another video game. And I'm thinking it's like a Mega Man game where the centipede would come apart and you had to kill each individual part. Judge anything for being goofy because I used to make cowboy worm plush. A cowboy worm plush seems perfect, honestly. And goofy is kind of the whole point in this. I've got another day where I do something that's meant to be way more serious and taken in a way that says, hey, I can do these things. But today is something about teaching and having fun and being sporadic and random. All right, let's get this finished. And then I should have all the parts I need so I don't have to worry about missing anything that sews into any other seams. I'm not going to worry about going all the way to the edge of this because, again, this is going to be into the head. Just got to get this as close as I can to lined up. And just kind of roll with it. Again, the more space you have, the more you can find that your materials will start to kind of shift on you. And that's really why I pinned all of this together. If I make a snake, when I make a snake, I always pin all the way up and down both sides. And I try to do that on both sides before I sew any of it because I don't want either side to come uneven. I want it to do its best to stay perfectly flushed on both sides. Now, the next thing is I probably would need to make these bumps a little bit more pronounced, like a wider bump to really get them to show. And if in the end we decide that that is something that has to happen, I will definitely do that before I make any more of these, which is an easy adjustment. Basically, all I would do is I would take this pattern and I would make that way more rounded or bring this way further in. So it was instead like this for each one. And what will happen is, as I'm sewing this, there's going to be a lot of little things that kind of show up and need to be changed. And if I'm lucky, I won't have to worry about it. I already suspect that I'm just going to have to make a new Gary. You guys heard his reaction, but then again, he kind of seemed to acclimate to it. He seemed to be kind of okay with it. So I might get lucky and not have to make another one. Looks like I have to make these wider for sure. I should know better for sure. Let's see. Let me cut this loose. I don't have quite as much stuff here. And I may have to come back and sew that section because I could already tell that between the red and the cream color that it was not quite lining up. So I don't even know where the cream one landed. And that means that I'm probably going to wind up having to just come back and re-sew that little section, which is fine. I'm already prepped for it. And it happens a lot of times, especially with new patterns. But with this material, I find that curves like this that are so pronounced tend to get thrown off somehow pretty regularly. Nose itching. But I'm going to try and line it back up as soon as I can. It's close enough because of these pins that I don't have to worry about it being about not lining up as I go. It's just that at that small section, it's going to be a little bit worse and a little bit harder to keep track of. It's one of those things that you kind of realize after you made a few plushes, all these little details start to add up and become a little bit more familiar. And I should probably just go ahead and make it an actual valley, like a little V each time I sew it. I just realized that I kind of shifted over and made it a little bit more rounded. And because of that, it's probably going to try and round itself out too. So I'm going to go ahead and make this one a lot more of a V. Point, turn, start. That should help that become a little bit more of a shape to it. My white material is a little bit shifted. Another thing that I've recently learned, because I had a bad batch of black thread, that sometimes threads are a little bit older, not made quite as well. And when you sew long stretches like this, it keeps breaking. Oh man, I almost forgot. It keeps breaking the thread. I almost completely forgot to leave that opening. So now I just did that right here. I did a back stitch. I'm going to slide over. I just saved myself in the last possible seconds. That's very lucky. And back stitch again. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. I got to go get a towel. I'll be right back. Towel for me. Yes, I blow my nose like a cartoon character. I'm sorry. I used to not, and then one day as a teen it happened, and it never stopped happening. But yes, I blow my nose like a freaking cartoon character. You want to fight about it? Jokes. Jokes. All right, let's see what we got here. I'm scrolling backwards a bit. We need silly things in life, though. Yes, I believe we do. Each one I made had a cowboy hat and a bandana and wore one boot. I love it. I think I would have had to make like different versions, like different bandoliers and like one with a poncho or something like that. That's incredibly cute. I'm going to have to go look at that. Crawfish. Did you post anything of those? Because I'd love to see if you have those crawfish. Plushes. That's why I got a Coraline jumping mouse. Oh, by the way, I'm going to be sending that out very soon. A Sleepy Hollow was, yep, got a cool plush I have. I'm not sure if they have boxes, but yes, yes, they are. And what I intend to do is sit down and do some drawings for those. I want to send you some stickers as well. Yeah, thank you so much, Catbee. Your Catbee has been with me for quite some time and is very kind and very understanding and very patient with me. All right, now I have got to make a little bit of a plan here. Poop. I just realized something. Okay, so here it is. Here's what I realized. This was meant to go into the back. So I'm cutting the valley. I'm going to empty out the points a little bit. And this is exactly what I said I was trying to avoid. Oh, look, I actually missed some there. So I'm going to go show you what I'm talking about. Right there. What happened was when I was curving it, I wound up missing a couple stitches. But that's an easy enough fix. The problem I really have is that now I actually have to break some stitches on another piece. Get that done, get this out of the way. Trying not to cut myself while I'm trying to also move hastily. All right, so this is the fin on the back. And I had just mentioned how I'm trying to make sure that I do as little work as I can by not having to hand stitch these on. So normally what I would do is I would fill this up, I'd sew this closed, and then I would hand stitch it on depending on the type of pattern that I'm making. Well, in this case, my intention is to have this right here. Oh, right here. So I wanted to sew it in, but I completely forgot. So now I've got to kind of go back on it. Well, if you do crawfish, let me know. First off, I'd love to see what you do. I love seeing what other people make, especially people who make plush stuff. I see all kinds of different things for plushes, and I feel like I'm trying to do something that's enough different that it makes it unique enough, but I never know. I'm just kind of rushing through and running through with the things that I do. All right, so let's see. This was the mark for the front, so it's going to go this way. I need to cut off. Let me go ahead and tear some of these stitches. Now, the good thing is I'm lucky that these stitches are visible. Because it's white on red, that's not a very good amount of light. Let's see if I can adjust that. Yep, the white on red. Here's my front. I want it closer to the front, so I'm going to start it right here. I can actually see the loops enough to get into them. And I can break just every few seams, just long enough. If I pull it too tight, it'll make them tighten up as well. So I have to be pretty careful about this. Now, I know that there's going to be people that say, why don't you just put it in and run it? Well, this material breaks so often that I just can't do that. So what I essentially have to do is make it harder on myself to make it a little bit easier on myself. Just every so often, just right. It's kind of really hard for you to see, isn't it? I'm trying to do it by watching the camera only, but there's a split-second delay, so it's throwing me off a little. And I just can't. I have to look at it directly. So what I'm doing is I'm breaking the seam right here, long enough for me to put that fin right where I wanted it. You can see it's all just coming apart now. I think I want to go forward a little bit more instead of going backwards. You do want to be careful not to cut an example here, red. And you can always pull a couple of the seams out afterwards. You will have to double stitch or back stitch this for sure, because otherwise this loose thread is just going to be a problem later. I'm going to back stitch right here before I go back over it. And here is my front again, double checking. What I'm going to do is I'm going to flatten this out and I'll put it in right here. I think that I want to put just a little bit of fluff inside this. Now, this is going to be something that I kind of pick and choose how I do. All right, crawfish, we'll be expecting you back any minute. I like to do just a little bit of fluff for what I'm doing here. It's kind of hard to gauge in comparison to like if I was full fluffing it from the camera standpoint. But essentially, we're just saying that I'm giving it just enough to have a little bit of shape. I want to make sure it's good and spread out because I don't want it to be clumped up. I don't need it to be. If I were really stuffing this, I would put enough in there to make it really sturdy. What I'm doing instead is I'm putting just enough in here to hold it in place. It's still nice and thin. So it'd be a good solid fin. And I'm actually going to sew 2 lines. This is going to be reaffirming. What happened? I did not see in time. Oh, thank you, Cat B. I thought I hit a button because I leaned forward just as it happened. I thought my chin hit something. All right, so what I'm doing is I'm basically giving the fin just a little bit of shape. Thank you, Cat B, by the way. I think I said that, but I want to make sure that I say it properly. All right, so just a little stitch here. And what it's going to do is it's going to help this fin take just a little bit of extra shape. Go ahead and pull it all the way to the end. And I think that that's going to do just a little bit extra. I don't cut, I saw, so I don't accidentally cut my material because these are coming out right in the middle of the material. And this is what I mean. You can see it comes right out the middle. If I go to cut, I might cut the fuzz. I might cut the material itself. So instead I pull it nice and tight, give it a quick swipe, and it's loose. Now you can see there's a little bit extra shape on that fin. You could do more, you can do less, you can do this on the gills. There's a lot of things that you can kind of change the shape with. I do this a lot with ears. If I have an ear that comes up and around, I'll do this for the back portion of the ear, so it gives it a nice rounded and the meat of the ear compared to like the inside. And it looks really cute when you do stuff like that for different things. Like you can also use toes. Like imagine this was a foot, you can do the toes. So you can use just stitching on the outside of a right-sided out piece, and you can do it with or without fluff on the inside. And it looks really nice. It's an additional thing that you can add to your repertoire of ideas. All right, now let's go ahead. I'm going to line all this up. I want to make sure it stays good and flat. I may have to cut some more. I'm going to cut just a little bit further forward. Let's do it on the same side I was cutting earlier. I'm going to give it another inch, half an inch. Now, I hate having to do this, but again, this is just one of those things that happens when you're making something brand new, especially on live when I'm trying to explain like extra things sometimes. So what winds up happening is I'm doing all this extra stuff, I'm saying all this extra stuff, and I'm forgetting like little steps all over the place. Now that should give me that'll give me a good fin on the back. And all I'm going to do is sew right across so that it goes both pieces and keeps that trapped in the middle. And again, back stitch for sure, because you just cut the end of that stitch. And if you don't back stitch, you're going to wind up having a thread that just decides it has nothing to hold on to. Let's that. I will have to give it a little bit of a tug on this side because now it's going to be sewing through 1, 2, 3, 4 pieces of fabric plus the fluff that's in here. Plus, at the seams, it's folded in, so that's 2 more layers of fabric that's going to be doing. So I'm going to be sewing between 4 and 6 pieces of fabric, and it will do it, but I kind of have to give it a little bit of help. Just an even pull. You don't want to pull too hard or it'll stretch your stitches out, but just a nice little even amount of pressure so that it helps feed the whole thing through. And once again, back stitch. Oops, there we go, back stitch. All right. And then let's get this out of here. Oh no, my bobbin ran out halfway through. That's hilarious. All right, let's refill that bobbin up. At least I can show you roughly what's happening here. Sometimes when you're sewing this many things, one side will start to shift on you, and you'll actually wind up missing the whole thing. And when it does, just like before when I missed a section of stitches, all you have to do is go back over. Just flip it to that side up so you can see what you're working with. And now I'm going to show you guys. I do this somewhat regularly. I pretty much do it every time I have to refill my bobbin. So give me 1 second to get this in so I don't have to do, you know what, let's just point it up here. This is the process for refilling a bobbin. There we go. Top of my machine. Get everything sewn up. And there we go. Okay. Now the thread goes over here. Your machine might be different. I've already got mine set. There's a wheel on that side. The thread will go into the little hole right there. You'll hold that thread up, push it down in, and then when you slide this over, it activates the bobbin mechanism. It turns off the needle and activates that. You press on the pedal, and it spins. You can see that I'm holding this thread up. Once there's enough of it filled, I will just cut it loose. I have seen people do a lot of different things with this. I'm not concerned with being tricky. I just need it done. And that's it. Now, when this fills up, it'll press this little thing right here, which you can barely see. It'll press on this. And when it presses on that, it'll stop filling, so you don't have to worry about it overfilling. And any second now. See how it's starting to stop? That's it. Now it's pushing that over. All right, readjust, readjust, readjust. All I've got to do is take it out now. That's my light pole. There we go. Just re-engage the mechanism for the needle, cut it loose. Just a real simple cut it loose, and you're done. And then rethread the machine, of course. There's a whole bunch of little things. None of these are hard to do. When I first started doing this, there's a lot of things that really just seem to take extra attention. But now I've done it so many times that it just seems easy. Earlier, Thelma's bar was talking about tension. There's two things that they could have been talking about. One, there's a tension somewhere in this section that is the needle thread. But the other tension is right here. My bobbin, this little screw, that screw determines how easily and how tight the thread feeds through this mechanism. This is also referred to as tension. It may be the only thing that's referred to as tension. But when somebody mentions that, that's one of the first places I tend to look, is whether or not that screw is too tight or too loose. And you'll see from the way that your stitches come out whether or not there's a problem. Literally too tight. If the tension is too tight, then the thread from here won't come out, and it kind of tightens up your stitch. But if it's too loose, it feeds extra thread each time. And then you'll find that each one of your stitches will have this big loop on them each time. Okay, let's see here. Get out of this. Last here. Let me see if I can find where my stitches ran out. Again, I'm going to want to back stitch just a little bit because that thread just kind of ran out. So it's the same thing as if I had a broken thread. I didn't back stitch earlier, so that's what this is now. This out of the way. Double check, make sure I got it all the way across. You see there's a section that came really close. Did I get it? Nope. You can actually see right here. There's just a small section where I want it missing, and I'm not sure exactly how or why, but that happened, so easy fix. In fact, it's kind of looking like something else is actually happening here. Let's see. You can actually hear the needle trying to press through all that material. Let me see if that worked this time. Yeah, I don't know what happened. I mean, it looked like that's where it ended, so maybe when I put it back in to re-sew it, I put it in backwards. And yes, all these loose threads that are going to be hidden and not matter, they bother me, so I'm cutting them loose because that's my way. And that's going to be our back. Oops. Just realized you guys probably can't see a whole heck of a lot. What number do you have? Have you tension on? Oh, my tension is at about 2.5. You know what? I think that's what you're referring to. So my zigzag is just 0. And then the spacing for my threading is about 2.5. But other than that, my sewing machine is old enough where it doesn't have a tension bar. Oh, that. I forgot about that. You know what, Cat B? When we were trying to figure out your problem, I completely forgot about this too. But I don't know if that... I have never shifted it because I've not had a problem that made me worry about it. That's kind of funny. I haven't thought about that tension in forever. Like, it's right here in front of me, but I literally forgot that it even existed until this exact moment. What number do you have your attention on? 2 or 3? Yep. As is in the way. In the way. Let's see. I think that's what we're talking about. I played yesterday and lost. I love playing chicken with my bobbin thread. Oh, when will it run out? Yeah, it's one of those things that I don't even think about, but I know is going to be a problem when it decides to come out in the middle of a project. And hey, Foxy, I just realized I saw your picture and I was like, wait, I don't recognize the picture. And then I realized who it was. All right. Yeah, that's right. So 5/4 is what I've got this tension at. But again, this isn't one I had thought about. And that's the tension I'm referring to when I talk about through the machine where I have to tighten it up. And that might be because I've got it too high or too low. I don't know. I've got it set middle. And again, that's because of something that I read or saw when I first started doing this. It's been so long since I've even thought about it that I forgot it existed completely. All right, now we've got, this is the first hump. So on the back of this is where the tail end is going to go. So let's go ahead, do a few little cuts here to try and help that shape come out. I'm just going to go ahead and cut at each of these crests. Oh no. So I've got a few spots here. I can already tell that I missed the stitches. So let's look and see. The top seems to be just fine. I need to fix here and here, which I had completely forgotten, but I had mentioned it when we were sewing. See, this is one of those things that happens. Whenever I'm kind of doing 2 or 3 things, just to be clear, I'm not complaining. It's one of those things where you realize that when you do the extra stuff, you can easily forget things that you're already planning or used to doing. So doing a brand new plush like I'm doing, plus trying to explain and getting sidetracked, and your bobbin running out, all these things kind of wind up adding up to being little things that I have to pay extra attention to. And I have a suspicion that Cat B watches me and knows when I'm messing up so that she can get on to me about it, so she can give me a hard time later. I suspect that Cat B is a secret foe. All right, let's go ahead, and I think there's one more. Yep, it's over here, but I want to make sure that I leave this open. Yep, this is my actual opening right here. This is my I missed the stitches opening. And then I will be able to go back and cut those V's out real quick. And in fact, this one I'm going to go ahead and make an extra little bit of V just because of the shape I had it in. And there we go. Now, again, I'm going to go ahead and cut these little snips just enough to allow the material to take shape in these little V's. And in this case, normally when I put something in, sew something in like I did with this, I fill it beforehand. But there's so much here that if I tried to fill this, there's just no way I would get it to fit. Let me double check here and make sure that that's going to work. I need to go ahead and feed this all the way through. I'm not sure I sewed this up well enough. So I'm using my chopstick to press up to make sure that I didn't miss any seams. And it looks like it's going okay. Sometimes I get overly annoyingly paranoid about it. Not because I'm scared, but because I really don't want to have to fix it again later. I'd rather learn now that it's a problem rather than right side it out, then undo that, do it again. Sometimes you can hand stitch these, and it makes it pretty easy too, because then you can just fix it with a hand stitch. But there are sections that it's just, if you could just sew it, it's just so much easier. Getting rid of some of the excess on my points. Trying to make sure that I don't accidentally cut too far in. A little bit here, a little bit there. And if it winds up being just a little bit extra fluff, or a little bit extra on the inside when I right side it out, that's not the worst thing. And let's go ahead and get all this through. You can see it's actually taking that rounded pretty well. It looks like it's going to be a little bit smaller than I intended, but I think that that's going to make it a little bit more fun too. Sometimes the serendipity of making these patterns the first time winds up playing out really well. I've had a few things like, that's not what I planned, but it is hilarious. So I just definitely kept it. It looks like that point needs to be adjusted a little bit. It's got enough of an edge to it, a point, that I think it's going to be okay. And what I intend to do is I'm going to stuff all this and do a little bit of a line in there, much like I did with this, so that it gives that just a little bit of extra obvious shape. And all that's together. The good news is, since I've got this hole right here, that's where I'm going to be stuffing everything from. I've been framed. I think that I need to see the proof, Cat B. I bet Cat B ate some of your bobbins. She probably did. Snuck in the middle of the night. Yes, a foe that gives you all of my money. Well, I appreciate that. I appreciate the dedication to staying secretive about your hatred towards me. All right, so now we have backside, front side. We've got red side, and we've got teals or cream side. So let's lay this flat. Put this right here. This is what we're going to start on. And I'm going to keep that pretty well centered. Got front to back as well. I made the front side just a little bit wider. Now what I will probably do is start adding a little center line. You know, I've talked about marking your materials, marking your patterns. If I mark a center line on both, on this one, I can line it up with the center seam and it'll be a little bit cleaner of a sew, but if it twists a little bit on something like this, that's totally okay. But if you are trying to do something that you want to look a little bit more specific, that kind of mark will be very helpful. I've got that on my mice, so I know exactly how useful that can be for me. Let's see. I'm trying to find my center line pretty well. I think that that's going to be it. Let's go here. Line that up. Now this is going to be a little bit harder to line up because I have so much space. It's not just a small section, but it should be close enough where I don't have to worry too much. Now I also have to remember to leave a section of this open so that when I right side everything out, I have a space to right side it out and to fluff. And as you've seen before, I am prone to forgetting that. And there is absolutely nothing that can be done because I can't see the screen while I'm doing it. And basically I have to find little ways to remind myself. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to double pin and be like, oh, why did I double pin that? Oh yeah, so I know to stop. Trying to get all this to line up as close as I can. I can also roll this up so I can stuff it in here. And I'll go ahead and start pinning the opposite direction. It already came unrolled on me. A little bit extra pins on some things is not a bad thing. A little extra work. There's other methods of doing this, and sometimes you don't have to. But the only problem comes when you have too many pins and you start poking yourself. But sometimes that's just going to happen. Okay. And now there's so much stuff in the way that it's actually kind of getting hard to flatten it out. You can see that it is slightly off, but that comes out from having not tested this pattern before. And I don't think it's going to be off enough where I have to worry too much, but if it is, I can always adjust my pins. And not only that, but this section that I'm going to be leaving open will also give me a little bit of allowance because I can kind of pull and tighten a little bit as I sew it. So let's see if I can get it started right here, and then I will circle around and stop where I want to leave the opening. Come on. There we go. I'm going to try and leave this opening just a little bit bigger because I've got all that extra material that I have to feed through it. And, oops, let me go ahead and adjust here. You only need a lawyer if you're guilty. Are you feeling guilty? Otherwise, you can just talk to us. All right. I'm trying to do it a little bit at a time, trying not to stab myself. These needles really do become a hazard as you're kind of moving sometimes. Okay. And what's funny is I can't point them in because they are just as much of a hazard, if not more, because then they are on the inside where I'm going to be pulling, and it stabs my hands in a very different way. Okay. Sorry, I'm like being a little bit more cautious right now. As I'm sewing this, I'm a little less chatty monkey because of that. I'm trying to make sure that none of this kind of slides around. Now getting to the point where the rest of the tail, the rest of the body is, so I got to pull that a little differently too. I'm kind of getting to that point where there's even less leeway because now all the stuffing is kind of getting in the way. And I say stuffing, it's not really stuffing, but I guess the fin has some actual fluff in it. And I have to make sure that I've got all that material rolled up in there. I will admit that I'm probably pulling it a little bit more than I need to. Which does have an effect on the stitches, but we're going to see if it's a major effect or not. I think that I got enough in there. Let's see, did I miss some stitches here? Right on the cusp of missing. I think I got it. It's really hard to tell, but I think that it's actually good there. And everything else, there's a little bit of stretching, a little bit of like not perfect. You can see right here where some of it kind of stretched and moved around a bit. And that's a combination of it being like not a perfect fit and me kind of adjusting and pushing and pulling as I go. Yeah, I keep hitting those needles and I can't seem to fix it. Oh, ow. It outgrew too much, but lasted a while. Let's see, what are we looking here? Oh yeah, so it lasted, the copper nail lasted 10 full days. And I'm going to make another one. And I'm going to make it look like I imagine like Frankenstein's monster's nail looking. So a little jagged and broken looking. But I haven't been able to sit down to do that. I've got a craft show this weekend where I have to make a whole bunch more Pokemon plushes. I have orders that I'm trying to catch up on. I have the baby. I had to mow. But I intend to do it soon. My hope is that you're asking because you liked it. I thought it was a lot of fun, and I love it. Yeah. Bobby saw me nearly stab myself and nearly jam the needle in my hand, I bet. All right. And now we have a body. We have the beginning of the body. I think we've got a good shape here. I've got a section here that I can stuff from. I got a section here that I can stuff from. A lot of times when I have a longer body, I would make two sections, but I forgot. Now I have to get this head put together. I'm probably not going to get much more of this finished tonight, but we are going to see what happens. Top of the head. Again, I should probably mark the center seam of this. And in fact, I'll show you what I'm talking about. If I just get in the head real quick. All right, here's my face. Fold in half. There's my center line. Just draw a little line there. What I'm going to do is I'm going to lay that right on top of my cut piece. See where it's at. I'm then going to just use my pen. Put a little mark. Get this all back out of the way. Cover it up so it doesn't blow away. Now, I can line this up with this. And now I don't have to worry about getting the rest of it like slightly shifted and it kind of twisting the body or the head or anything else. I do want to make sure that I keep a part of this open. And I want to make sure I get my fins inside here as well. This is going to have a couple cuts in it because of a wider arch. And then cut these off. Do my best to make sure I don't cut my fingers. While doing a leather project one time, I actually cut into my hand. Let's see, this hand right here, there's a real deep scar. And it was so bad. I thought I almost cut my finger off. So I try not to let myself get cut. I'm not a big fan of it. I forgot to ask, what are you making? Oh, let's see. It is I got the drawing right here. It's a shiny Gary. It's a real bad drawing, but my digital drawing that I did is on the phones that I'm using / on the phone that has no battery. I would much rather show you the digital version of it, but unfortunately, I kind of whiffed it completely. Now, the thing is that this has actually come together pretty nicely. It's taken a little bit longer because I had to do the extra cutting and tracing and everything else while live. I'm trying, I promise. If you guys watch my page, you see that I post every day. And just about every day, there's a new mouse, a new plush, a rat, a bat, something that I post. And that's because I am doing my very best to work something new every day as often as I can, and sometimes working 3 or 4 projects at a time. I'm also doing art projects I did a portrait for somebody. I drew their son. And of course, I can't show that because I feel like that's showing somebody else's kid. And I already feel bad about I won't show my own son, so I'm definitely not going to show somebody else's. But I want to do more portraits. I do all these other projects all over the place in different ways. Up. Almost forgot. I happened to see this in the background and realized that I almost forgot. But basically, I'm doing my best to work through my cue list as fast as I can. So I work at night. I do digital sketches. I am trying to make some extra plushes for this craft show that's coming up. I have all these things that I'm constantly working on. So what winds up happening is sometimes during the course of that week, I don't do anything extra for my Monday projects or even for my Wednesday projects. And I'm trying to find time to do better. I've already stopped gaming as much. I used to play like pretty much every night. That was my way of unwinding at the end of the day, but I don't have time for that now. I basically have to work at that. My son's going to be going back to school in about 3 weeks, I think. And that'll help. I love having him around, but at the same time, he needs attention and he needs help and guidance and to be smacked around sometimes. Don't you, Vance? Not quite, buddy, but I am pretty darn close. So what I'm doing right now is I'm actually right-siding the fins out. I'm going to add just, careful, pins. There's some pins right there. I don't want you to accidentally get stabbed.
Not in
Yes, that is correct. But if you are too close to the pins, you might accidentally hit them. So I'm going to move them out of the way.
What's this?
That is the fin on the side of his head.
You got no brown.
He's got no brown. That's right. He's got white. And that's probably not the right color, but
What?
we'll find out.
The tail.
Yeah. Would you go with mommy pretty, please?
No. I hope you're finished.
No, I'm not quite finished, but you know what? If you go with mommy and pick out a pack of cards, we can open up a pack of cards at the end of the view, since we didn't do it at the beginning. He knows where they are. Vance, get one from the closet, okay? He was gone for the beginning of the show. So usually we open up a pack of cards to kind of start the day off. But today we're doing it at the end. I have to be careful not to hit the pins with my needle. Sometimes it breaks. Oh, yeah. Yeah, we've had that whole conversation. Let me show you this. When my needle hit this pin, it broke it. So I do my best to remember to take them out, but at the same time, I'm so used to leaving them in that it happened. I just broke my first needle. I'm really, you know what? I feel for you, especially since it was like while your baby was crying. So I know that had to have been like a whole process. All right, here's the face. What I'm going to do is put these in so that they are the face side. So let's go ahead and pull these out. Now, I could round this out differently when I make the pattern, but honestly, I'm not too concerned with that. I wanted it to be particularly different. I can go through extra steps, but that's what's going to look like here. Is it's going to just tuck in right about there. Just have to reline this up, make sure that these go here. And I'm not going to fill this. I kind of, you know what? I was mistaken. I am going to put a little bit of fluff in these. Yes? Wait, did you get this from the closet?
Uh-huh.
Okay, so we'll open this up in just a little bit, but you have to leave me alone.
This?
That's his body. But you have to give me just a little bit of time. So why don't you go with mommy? And then I will holler at you when we are about ready, okay?
Okay.
All right. So I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing I did with the back fin. I'm going to add just enough fluff to give this a little bit of shape, but still keep it here. Now, for anybody that's curious, if you're like, oh, that's great. I love that his son gets to open Pokemon cards with him. I am taking donations for Pokemon cards because they are hard to find around here. I've been trading for them with some people online, but man, scalpers are crazy. Like, no, I'm only paying like MSRP for that because I don't want to pay like $300 for like cards that he doesn't really care that much about. He just has fun with them, and he really likes the plushes. So it kind of a balance, but man, it is nuts out there for Pokemon people. All right, so, oops, I just dropped. Okay, it's not important. So what I'm doing here is the same thing I did with the back fin, with this fin right here. I am putting just enough fluff to help keep the shape. And then when I'm done and when I put this back on, I'm probably going to see if I like it like this or if I need to stitch the same seams so that the fins take a little bit more shape. The reason I'm thinking that it'd be kind of cute like this is because it'll just look like fat fins sitting next to it, almost kind of like big ears. So I'm not sure what's going to look cuter, but this is a way that I can do both and find out. Let me make sure that I got this into the edge. Now, what's going to wind up happening is once I sew this on, I'm not going to be able to spread the material around by chopstick. I'm just going to have to use my hands as best I can, and that'll just be a case of fluffing it around and flick and like shifting. All right, so that's good. Let's see. Thank God it did not go in my eye. Oh my goodness, yeah. My needle flew and hit my cheek head. Oh my gosh. I am paranoid about my eyes. So that's huge. Let's see. I'm so glad you're okay. That must have been scary. That probably was crazy scary. Like I don't do weed eating. I don't do metal wire work. I don't do sanding without something to protect my eye. I would hate to have to switch over to that for sewing, but I would in a heartbeat if I thought that was going to be something that happened regularly. All right, now the good news is I don't have to worry about these fins being perfectly symmetrical. In fact, not being symmetrical might make them a little bit more fun, but I'm going to do my best to get the ends lined up. That doesn't need to stay there. Let's go ahead and put these pins all the way through. And then what I can do is for this part of the fin, since it would try to hug the edge, I can actually just tuck that in really far. And it might cause the ear fin to shift a little. Oh man, I got a whole bunch of little things that are kind of shifting on me. It might cause that ear fin to shift a little, but that's okay because it just gives it a little bit more shape. Again, the goofiness gives us a lot of free space to play in. There we go. And then I'm going to tuck this in as well. Trying to make sure I keep you guys on camera here so you can see what I'm doing. Pin all the way through. Now, let's see. This is kind of acting like it's a little bit stretched out. Oh, crap. I just put all those pins on the... I guess I'm just taking these out now. If all the pins are not on the same side, I can't see them well enough, and it winds up just causing more havoc. Now, I do have the option, Where did my... Oh, I don't have a center line at the top. I do have the option of tucking my crest in at the top. But I think that's going to look a lot better if it's sewn on instead of tucked in at the top like that. And yes, there's a balance between goofy and purposeful good looks. I walk that line like a pro in my daily life. Gotta be both goofy and sexy. All right, let's see if I can get this to line up a little bit better. So what has happened is a few things have kind of shifted on me. I had it barely fitting anyways. So now trying to get it to line up a little bit better is kind of acting a little bit weird. Maybe I'll just be better off if I just pin the ears and then afterwards kind of shift the rest of it. So if I get these kind of lined up, pretty close at least. That right about there. Then again here. Still tucking in the edges. Well, I guess the lobes, the fin point, the crest, I don't know what to call it. Go. This is not too far off. Just a little bit of a shift should be enough to fix that. Okay, so that should be okay. I'm going to put another, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and put a second pin here as a reminder. 2 pins so I can stop, leave that open. This seems to have lined up pretty well, but I need to put in a pin here so that that part does not accidentally slide up and into my seam. And that should be good. That should be good. I need to shift that out just a little bit. What had happened was one side of the ear had started to kind of fold in. And I'll go ahead and start sewing right here. And the reason is because I can tell that it's going to start trying to shift on me. And I just don't want to have to worry about it. Ooh, a little bit at a time here. Trying to make sure that the bottom side does not roll under either. Let's do a little bit of a shift there. Okay. So I'm just slowly hoping that I don't catch anything I don't need to catch. You can see that there are times when you just slide right over a pin without even thinking about it. And that's always great. But then you kind of start to get a little complacent, and then suddenly it sneaks up on you and tries to take your eye out. And I am now going to be thinking about that for at least a week every time I sew. Okay. Just a little bit of even pressure, just enough to get it to roll through. And then here's my double pin to remind me to leave that opening. Ow! Now, I think that these 2 ear fins are a little lopsided in the right kind of way. Leave open right about here. Where did my opening go? There it is. Okay. I got to leave this as a little bit of a bigger opening because, again, there's the 2 fins, and they are stuffed, so I have to make sure that there's enough room for them to get through. And usually, even an inch is enough for that kind of thing, but then you have to fight it. And fighting it becomes aggravating in its own way. And cut. Cut these out of the way. That's from sewing the other parts. Double check to make sure I got it all stitched together. Yep, see right there, I missed some because it curled under. It's okay, it's a real quick fix. Oops, up, there we go. Again, just kind of checking through. And it looks like that's all good. This ear is going to be a little bit more. This ear is going to be a little bit less. That's okay. I should have just enough done that I can actually like piece it together so you guys can see roughly what we're looking at here. Not too shabby. Has a kind of a dragon feel like it's supposed to. Let's get this backed off. Get all my pins up and out of the way. Point my camera a little bit differently. Okay, there we go. They are not. It's safe and sorry. Okay, better to be safe than sorry. Eyes are not replaceable. Yes, that is exactly my worry. I do all this art stuff, and I am terrified that at some point in time my eyes are going to go out. I'm going to stab myself. When my son was a baby, and I slept with him, I would sleep with my hand over my eyes so that when he turned and punched, he wouldn't hit me right in the eye. I was scared about that for quite some time. Here's our face. So let's go ahead and I'm going to show you roughly what we're looking at, but it is late enough where I do not think I'm going to be able to stay on much longer. I can already tell my phone battery is starting to die. I think what I would like to do maybe is I'd probably make the mouth a bit bigger, like I make it wider, lower down in that Gary shape. And I would probably make it a little bit more angular for the face as well. But let's throw some stuffing into the head. That'll help with a few things. I'm probably, I'll have to decide later. I might let my son decide whether or not I'm going to do the big eyes or the beady eyes on this one. I like to kind of sporadically choose that because it adds to the goofiness of them. And I have a feeling I'm going to have to add like I do the goofy arms, which I can't show you because all the plushes are in another room now. Oh, no, they're not. Hold on. So I do these little goofy arms like this, which the placement on this was weird. I kind of shifted the placement a little bit, but I'm probably going to do this for the lower fins right here. They hang off to the side. I'm just not sure where they're at. And I wanted to kind of put most of this together to see how it would look in general. You can see right here because of the way that this ear was folded that it's trying to curl in. And that wouldn't happen if I made it flat. Basically what happened was the inside was pulled out, so it is trying to take a different shape. So I may have to fix it by stitching right across here, which is not a problem. It's one of the things I was thinking about doing anyways. But we'll kind of see how that works out. And then we will have, let me go ahead and put some stuffing in this. I'm going to put a tongue on him. If you remember, I did roughly the same thing with the mouth for the poly whirl. And then I sewed it closed and made it look like it had these big old lips. So this is going to have roughly that same design to it. I may have to recut the mouth to make it like 2 times bigger. But what I'm going to do is put a stitch right in here, the same thing that I did with this, and it'll make it look like a closed mouth, and then I'll just kind of have like a little tongue sticking out. I think that's going to really add to the goofiness of it. Goofiness is a very important word in my streams. So that's going to be roughly what that looks like. That here. This here. Let me go ahead and put up a couple pins just so we can get a good look at it. Just like that. That's not too shabby. I mean, already, even without putting that stitch on there to close the mouth, it really looks like what we were aiming for. And then I will decide at a later time if I want to give it, I'm actually picking up the eyes real quick. My original plan was to give it the big eyes, which does work. I think it works and it's cute. But I started kind of, as I was working on this, started thinking how funny it would be to give it beady eyes. And I know that whenever I put the beady eyes on there, it automatically makes it look like a ditto version of them. But it's cute when it has such a weird, funny contrast to it. And here, I'll show you. Go ahead and put the other eye back on. And you can see the difference. I'm not going to do the alternated eyes because I don't want him to look like he's high. But yeah, the big eyes, it definitely fits. And then the beady eyes just have like a comical feel to them. I think I have other beady eyes. Let me see if they're out here. Other small eyes, not beady. Sorry, I'm trying to shift some things around real quick. Trying to make sure my phone is still charging. It looks like my other eyes are not out here. I'll deal with that later. But essentially, I have like eyes that are between these two sizes. And I might wind up doing that, but I might just let my son pick. He might decide that he wants the big ones. He might like the small ones. And if he doesn't, then maybe Mandy will have an opinion on it too. But I really think that turned out really well. I think that once this is stuffed up, in fact, I can probably go ahead and stuff this up real quick just so we can see that this will look really well too. I'm trying to get my pieces out of the way. I still have to open up a pack with him, so I got to see myself just enough battery to be able to do that. My bag of fluff is falling apart on me, falling out on me. A little bit here. And one of the things is if I had thought about it sooner, I could have probably put the fins, sewn them into the sides here. Again, this is both a new pattern and a rushed pattern. I did this in the last hour. So if you're kind of curious as to how long it takes for me to come up with a goofy pattern, something that I don't have to test over and over again, it takes me about, let's say, 30 minutes to draw it up, and then another 45 to an hour to plan out the actual pattern. So like 30 minutes just to draw the simple sketch. And then about another hour to make the pattern. And then everything else, like you see me working on this from here. It takes about 2.5 hours to cut the material, sew the material, and get to this point. And I'm not even done. So if you're ever kind of curious as to where my thoughts are on pricing, this is why I do that kind of thing. It basically, I know that it's just a plush and that there's only so much someone will see it as worth, especially since for the most part, you can get really cheap and easily made plushes for like $5-10. But since I'm making it all and I'm going through all this whole process and I'm not some machine operated kind of assembly line, there's a whole lot of extra steps that I have to go through. All right, so check this out. That's going to be how our goofy little plush will look. I will definitely. So what happens is I have not done too many patterns yet, but I have to do them. I'm going to go through this whole process of digitizing all my patterns with instructions. I do have a mouse pattern. Yes, that's the only one I have. But other than that, like for example, let me show you. So what I do is I've got mouse, all the pieces. And then this, I've got all the pieces, but I've got them all set up. I just have to digitize them to make them available for other things. The only one I have digitized is the Mouse Plus. And it's this whole process. I have to draw it digitally. I have to trace it. I have to write instructions out. take pictures. I have all these different things I have to do, but I'm going to be doing it very soon with the rest of these because I think it's going to be something that's very helpful as well. All right. So here we are. This is as far as we're going to make it today. Hopefully by next Monday, I will have this finished. You can see how it's going to look. Remember, if you guys would love to see something in particular, send me a message. I would love to see some options. I've got a couple things I'm working on. My original plan was to do Generation 1 and 2, but I think that I'm kind of moving away from that to basically just doing whatever winds up happening. Oh, the one that I'm working on right now, this is literally the first time that I've built this. So you're seeing the whole process from start to finish. I will definitely have this available soon, Bobby. I'm going to go through some extra effort to start doing this as quickly as I can. Maybe I'll do some kind of Patreon thing where you guys can like join up for that and get like 4 of these a month because I do 4 of these a month. I think that could be a lot of fun. It'll have to be something that I work on making sure that I get caught up with. I'm learning a lot as I go, and I promise I'm doing better. Promise. Once upon a time, I used to slack on these things. I'd get nervous. I'd be all in my head. I wouldn't finish these things for like a month. I'd start it and then stop because I was so worried about it. The cards too. I'm actually making goofy cards for them. Give me 1 second. I'll be right back. Vance, if you are about ready, we're going to open some cards. Thank you, Kathy, for reminding me of the cards. Because yes, we are. I just let him know that we're going to be opening them soon. But it also reminded me of this. I am working on making my own cards based on my plushes.
You finished my turtles?
Almost, buddy. Wait. So I got to take these out because there's pins in them.
Oh no, it's ruined.
No, it's not ruined. It's just not done yet.
I saw her.
Oh, there go. So I make sticker versions of my plushes that go on the cards. Yeah.
It's mine.
Yeah. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and put this back in here. Hey, move. All right, everybody. We are going to open up a pack of cards. Wish us luck on pools. Now, for him, he does not have any favorites. For me, I just save the good ones for him for later, for when he gets older. But, hold on 1 second, buddy. Could you hop off my leg for just a moment?
Okay. And fit like this.
I would be very happy to make one for your granddaughter and or custom make one of her favorites as well. I'm talking to some people. Yeah, pretty much. Pretty close. All right, hop down. Hold on, I got to get some of this stuff out of the way. Yes, sir. That's pretty much exactly how it goes. Not yet. It's not done. See, it's all falling apart. Okay, let me get this all over here.
It's all mine.
And I will also do videos of all the ones I've made so far. Oh, yeah, Mommy.
Loud. Mommy, Ben.
Does Mommy hear us?
Mommy! I come get her.
All right, so here, I won't open. Actually, I'm just going to crack it open.
Here, Mommy.
Yep, here she comes. Okay, remember, put your arm on the other side of this.
Pikachu!
Easy, you're going to break your cards. All right. All right, here.
You love Pikachu?
I love them all.
Pikachu is wonderful.
You love Pikachu?
Yes.
All right, hold on one moment. Be a little bit of patience. We'll get this one out of the way.
Yes, you are.
And then, here you go.
I got small one.
Yeah?
I got small first.
I've never seen this one before.
I got small first name.
Okay.
That's
Gimmet.
cool.
Ooh, Togetic. You've mentioned that one. That's the one we saw at Hobby Lobby. Duraludin. Boo, trainer people. Boo. Boo, paper. Boo. Ooh. Yeah.
Him is cool. Eyeball.
Yeah, Togepi and Togetic.
That's cool.
Ooh,
This
cool.
might be something relevant. It's cool, but it's also boo.
That's
Zarude.
really cool.
That's from the movie you were watching too.
I keep this.
Yeah, you can definitely keep this.
Boo.
Boo to the energy. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for sticking around. Thank you so much for helping and watching. I hope you guys have a great day. Oh, stay off the camera, please. Sorry about that. I try to keep him off completely just because I'm over paranoid about the internet. All right, guys. Thank you so much. I will see you Wednesday for a Weird Wednesday. And if you have any suggestions or requests for that, so far we're looking at a scorpion idea. Otherwise, you guys have a great night. Bye.